lovely, it's cushy. we the best, far better than all of the rest. Unstoppable, we moving up, we arrive. Never give up, never give in, stronger we tough, thinking the skin. This is our game, so let it begin. This is our team, get ready to win, ready to rumble, ready to play, ready to tumble. We ain't afraid, enemies high, enemies pray. Come on the squad, I just wanna wait.
Fortnite fam, day 2 of the grand finals. 6 games today. Players have had the night before to study, to make adjustments, to rethink their plans, and come in stronger than ever, because 6 spots are going to the Global Championship, and all to play for. Oh, that's right, there's also prize money and an Axe of Champions. I hope you're ready. It's FNCS time. The only people more excited about the grand finals is Kelly Link and Vivid. Friends, day number 2, 6 games, Axe of Champions, 6 spots, prize money. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm excited, I'm nervous. I'm sure not as nervous as our players, but my goodness, was day 1 such an exciting day for Fortnite. Not just for you, but of course NA. It was absolutely incredible in the way that things ended off with Peterbot and Pollo on top. My goodness, Vivid. But we've already got 6 teams from North America made their way to the Global Championships, and we're gonna find 6 more today.
I mean, listen, we have constantly talked about it. Every single time you guys have seen our faces up here, it feels like this Fortnite season is just flying by. I mean, Major 2 has been no different. We are already on day number 2 of Grand Finals, just a couple of hours away from not only crowning champions, but for securing those Global Championships qualification spots. A lot to play for and just 6 games left to do it.
Oh man, let's go ahead and start off easy here. Let's bring up that leaderboard. Let's remind ourselves kind of how things ended. To start, I'd like to go ahead and say, hey, that's right, NA, we got top 5 in NA. No EU in the top 5 currently. I'm looking at you, Veno. I'm looking at you, Moneymaker and Fanyan. But speaking of both of these EU duos, you know, we kind of seen some crazy situations out of Moneymaker and Fanyan, specifically looking to possibly contest some other duos. Vid, you maybe want to talk us through some of that action?
Yeah, so Moneymaker and Fanyan, I mean, obviously you can see they're doing well on the leaderboard, but they came into it yesterday in game number 1, kind of expected to land at this island split to the east of Sunken, and they were uncontested game 1, and out of that, they got 3rd place with 4 eliminations, but for whatever reason, they just weren't happy with that. As you can see, just to the north end, by the way, Sikitaki and Jocelyn Yamazar kind of had this contest going on. But Moneymaker and Fanyan, like I said, they weren't happy with it. So in the next like 5 games, they moved. A bulk of those games, they went to the 0-point center of the map split where they ended up being contested. And then one of the other games, they went up to Chop Shop up there in the northwest side of the map. So they pretty much left their uncontested split to the south side and opted to be contested. It's kind of working out for them because they're still doing well on the leaderboard, but it's also working out well for Josh Nyamzo and Sikitaki because now both of those duos have kind of ended up with uncontested drop spots. So I want us to keep a close eye on how this actually pans out through the day and if we can kind of expect this to kind of remain how it is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because they definitely started off strong, but the last 2 games were definitely a little rough for them. So it'll be interesting to see if they do change up their strategy. But for a team that also had some success yesterday, you already alluded to it a little bit, Zeke, but I'm gonna let Vivid take it away because Veno and Agers had quite a day yesterday.
I mean, listen, we're kind of talking about all spawn situations. I expected Veno and Agers to come into this weekend with a little something up their sleeve. I did not expect them to go latte at all because they were going to be triple contested over here. But this triple contest, it happened all 6 games. There was no secrets being kept from Veno and Agers outside of the fact that they are just darn good. Because I feel like anybody that watched those 6 games yesterday would probably agree with me in saying that Veno and Agers, I feel like, won that all spawn play, whether they were fighting or not. But the tough part about it is that when you're triple contested, you kind of leave the POI sometimes with not so great loot. I mean, their weapons and their utility is pretty good, but their mats were always just so low. So they were actually forced into a situation where they had to just take mid-game fight after mid-game fight after mid-game fight. That being said, I mean, it just worked out so well for them. We know they were our elimination leaders after just those 6 games, and the numbers do the talking for themselves. Because as you can see, this is a breakdown of all of our teams, or at least towards the top. of how many eliminations they were able to pick up between zones 0 and 7. So a bulk of Aegis and Veno, bulk of their action was just coming from those early to mid-game fights, 22 total eliminations from them.
And we've seen in the past, especially when Veno first came over to North America and teamed up with Clix, that he does really favor these early and mid-game fights. But I feel like between Clix and even Curve, that he hasn't really found a duo mate that would be able to kind of follow along with him and keep up the pace of Veno, who is so fast, so aggressive. But I don't think that's the case with Agers. Agers is the perfect teammate for Veno. Being able to just stay with him and keep that aggression going is definitely a key to the success that we saw from them yesterday.
I'm curious. I'm curious to see. Did we change something? Are we going to keep the triple contested situation? For now, though, as we continue to talk about day number 2, why don't we go say what's up to your casters, MDF and Jacob.
Honestly, you're talking about day 2, Zeke, and honestly, one thing that always sticks in my head, if you don't learn from your mistakes, you're doomed to repeat them. And for Queasy, Victor V, Okus, and Zana, they may have had some mistakes, but they also had moments where they shine like no other, getting victory royales on the day yesterday.
Yeah, it's a story that is so different from one to the other. Queasy and Victor V have very high expectations set on their shoulders. You saw their preparation has got them sort of out of the early game, but it's that mid game, the lurks that you saw in the dynamic troubles in their area. So I'm curious to see how they're gonna adapt. And then Jacob, we have this team, right? Nothing to lose, everything to gain.
Yeah, and honestly, both of these teams really have shown, because they have shared at one point or another a spot inside of Global Championship qualifying territory. They fell down a little bit, 14th and 15th place on the respective leaderboard, but it goes to show that one game can truly mean the difference, Zeke.
It can, Jacob. That's why you have to fight it out until the final game of Fortnite. Fortnite's going to do what Fortnite's going to do. But why don't we go ahead and bring up, once again, the leaderboard, right? So we got the talk of EU out the way. Let's look at our top 5 and see who could possibly race to number 1. We'll start at the bottom, Higgs and Curve. I mean, look, we started very strong yesterday, right? A victory royale, 12 eliminations, and we had some consistency and maybe a few one-off games that didn't quite go their way. But Kelly, coming into today, I'm kind of curious what they might have adapted and, you know, how they might have changed their plans to tackle these upcoming 6 games.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like the first half went better in their favor, unlike the second half of the day. But I will say in game number 1, the game that they won, that they kind of forego these early rotations that I saw a lot of other teams kind of prioritizing. And instead they stayed in Storm. They kind of left Lifty Lodge and then even ended up going back to it. And it wasn't until zone 5 or 6 that they actually ended up going back into zone. And they kind of waited a little bit until zone 11 to steal high ground. And then just honestly, it was a clean, easy win and a bunch of eliminations. Getting that VR and the 12 elims has allowed them to kind of hold themselves up in this 5th place spot.
Higgs and Curve, man, they opened strong yesterday. Games 1 through 3, they were towards the top of the leaderboard. I mean, yeah, they're still in top 5, but struggling with that consistency a little bit. But a team that has not been struggling to be consistent. Acorn and Bulge just a spot above them on the leaderboard in 4th place here. And I'm not going to lie, how everything kind of happened yesterday, I, as it currently stands, kind of favor Acorn and Bulge to kind of take this home. I feel like they're going to win this FNCS, and it's just on the back foot of how consistently that they have played. Their average placement right now over the first 6 games was 7.0. There is not another team in the lobby with a better average placement than 10, and these guys are on 7. So the consistency is there for Acorn and Bolts. I mean, we constantly talk about it. Acorn, best IGL in the world, paired up with Bolts, so mechanical. That being said, Callie, I know we were kind of talking about it yesterday. The solo clutch points are also kind of keeping these guys alive.
Yeah, it's wild to see that they have a 7th place average place, but they haven't placed above 5th. And I think a lot of that is due to what you just indicated, that they are consistently a solo when it comes to the final moments of the game. And you can see that here in the solo clutch points. And obviously, we kind of built up Acorn's solo play in the heats, but that is a one and done. You win and you move on. Here, we need both of them to stay alive a few moments. There was even a few moments in the game yesterday, or in the day yesterday, where we thought they were separated. They weren't even in the same box together. So I don't know necessarily if it's just a little bit of a hitch in their synchronicity or if there's something else going on, but we know that this duo has been together for quite a long time now, and I know that they have that synergy. So maybe just a moment to kind of look back on maybe where they're taking a few missteps and to recover. But again, I'm saying recover. They're in 4th place, but I would love to see them get into a top 3.
Absolutely right. I think we all want to see that. We got to keep the ball rolling, though, the conversation going. We got to talk about Muzz and Rise. No big deal. Only a few points behind Peterbot and Pollo. Very strong showing from the duo yesterday. Even a victory royale. I guess I posed the same question. Now that we've had the evening to kind of moderate, to look over our gameplay, do we feel like they may have made some changes? Do we even feel like they need to? I mean, with such a strong showing, maybe they just stay the course?
Listen, they got a first, a second, and a third yesterday. I don't know necessarily if they're going to have to make any changes. And I got to rewatch some of their games this morning. And honestly, right off the bat, they have so much success. Muzz lands on this crazy high plateau where there's a few chests, and he's able to grab some easy tags on some players, especially depending on how the bus path goes. He lands so much earlier than anyone else. And then they get the mythic AR from the boss that's nearby. And then they go into this mid-map. They're relatively in the middle of the map. So they have these early rotations, and then they can get this surge tower that's in the middle of the map, and it's on top of that plateau that Muzz already landed on. So they have so much vision around the map. They have so much in the early and mid game that sets themselves up for success, that they don't really need these crazy big pop-off games in the end, because they've just done so well in the early and mid.
Well, listen, 34 points separates first and fifth place. 6 points separates first and third, and just a single point separates Peterbot and Pollo and Ritual and Code. I mean, listen, Ritual and Code, no surprise here. And we kind of talked about it towards the end of yesterday. If you kind of follow socials, Kinch always posts out his stats from the days, and Cold was all over it, man. He was the player with the most damage dealt. He had the best individual damage ratio. That being said, it wasn't actually the individual prowess that was so impressive for me yesterday. It was actually their average placement if you go ahead and disclude game number 4, because unfortunately they got 46th place, 0 eliminations. They went down just 5 minutes into the game. If you go ahead and actually disclude that game and kind of take their average placement without that one, it's a 4.2. If these guys survive the early game and just make it to the end game, how do you have an average placement of 4.2 there? It is absolutely incredible. They're playing so consistent right now, and I'm not entirely sure what happened in that game number 4, but they can kind of prevent that from happening and have 6 games today where they're constantly in the end game. I mean, listen, only 1 point behind, these guys could win.
And on top of the consistency, they're also able to grab just a ton of eliminations every time they make it to the end game. And when I was rewatching some of their games, I thought, maybe they're doing these crazy aggro plays like what Veno and Agers do, where they just run in the mid game, jump in people's boxes and eliminate them. But no, they kind of wait until the end game, and they'll kind of early rotate, box themselves up, and then just create a little window. And they're so in sync and in tune, and they're both so good that they're able to get an elimination onto players rotating in front of them in like a split second. And they don't even they are so efficient in their eliminations that they don't need to go for the loot. There was a game yesterday where they got 3 eliminations back to back to back and didn't go for any of their mats, any of their ammo, anything, because they barely wasted any of it. Cold and Ritual are just so efficient in the end game that they don't really need to use anything.
Crazy stuff, crazy stuff. Well, you guys did it. You said a duo's name, it activated my neurons, and now we must talk about them. Peterbot Pollo. Kelly, of course, it would be this way, right? We go in, we're like, Peterbot Pollo. We even talked about it at the top of the show yesterday. Sometimes they have these big explosive games, and sometimes they're not doing that hot. Of course, they win game 6. They come in today as that number 1 team. Of course, it's only a point, but that's still not, that's a pretty scary place to be.
I'm a broken record at this point. I always say how they are, historically a day 2 team, and that is still even the case for now. That was the case if you look at Summit Land and you split the games in half. They just do better in the second half of a tournament, and they're already in first place. And I have to think a part of that is due to this kind of early rotates they would do in the end game, even around zone 7 or zone 8. They would build these little towers and just kind of observe where everyone else is going. They would even rotate into Storm to build up a tower to kind of block everyone else off if there was this natural height. They do such a good job preparing for the end game that they're able to control height much earlier than any other team is able to do.
You can see their time on height yesterday. Over the course of the 6 games, it was almost 9 minutes total. But that being said, I feel like we have to mention Peterbot and Pollo, it was very, very slow for them in games 1 through 3. And matter of fact, most of this time, 7 minutes and 20 seconds of it, out of the total of almost 9 minutes there, actually just came on the back foot of games 4, 5, and 6. So a majority of that was just in the later half of the day yesterday. In fact, kind of going into game number 4 yesterday, they were on 160 points, and now they're on 333, which means that in just those last 2 games, they got more than half of their points and they are currently sitting on right now. So the momentum is on Peterbot and Pollo's side right now. Can they kind of bring it into day number 2 and keep the ball rolling?
Oh man, it is going to be an awesome day of Fortnite, right? 6 games. After that, we've got 6 spots going to the Global Championship. We're fighting for prize money. We're fighting for the Axe of Champions. It is going to be another movie. It's almost that time. Everyone find your seats on the battle bus. Casters, over to you.
Thank you, Zeke. And yeah, as a community, Jacob, we're lucky we get to come into day 2 with 4 teams neck and neck, and then so many others in the race right now. What do you think is going to happen here?
Now, first off, lucky is an understatement. We got a front row seat. I think the last time we had a tournament this close, it ended just as close. I hope it's one placement. I hope it's one elim. I hope first and second place are battling it out come game 12, and the winner of that game wins it all.
Yeah, definitely. You know, NA has given us quite the spectacular show year after year, season after season, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. As we're gearing up here, though, we get to jump in for game number 7.
This is a big day for everybody involved. We crowned a Major 2 champion. If it's not for the prize money, maybe the Axe of Champions or the bragging rights to be the best in the world. We also have 6 global championship spots up for grabs. Some teams already have them secured, so we could have a roll down situation. And Monster, with these 6 games, one last day to really put your name on the map and keep your journey going, because you don't want to have to go through that last chance global qualifier.
Yeah, definitely. Things get much more difficult later on in the weeks, but take a look at this. Veno, Agers, Chance, and Madden sticking to their drops as we sort of expected them to be contested, not to fully have the drop to themselves. However, it's quite the nice surprise, I'm sure, even for them to only have a single team here directly contesting them.
Yeah, they're not the only ones changing things up on this side of the map. I saw on the feed Aoxy Jojo Fishy taking out Void and Magma. That's another team that's just towards their west, as Tolzer and Ishu. This is a fight yesterday. We saw them kind of go back and forth, each team winning their respective off spawns, maybe even potentially trying to stay alive as a solo. And sometimes all you need is that one day difference, a time to kind of recollect, figure out what went wrong and fix it, but also figure out what went right and how to replicate it.
Yeah, definitely. You know, this is their get back. They lost, I want to say, about 4 out of the 6 drops yesterday. Maybe even 5, honestly. I know the first game went their way, but besides that, it was a pretty tough showing. F9, Moneymaker, keeping things interesting for us here as they continue to sort of float around the drop. Today, they're pulling out a whole new bag of tricks. They have a completely new team and a new POI insight.
Yeah, I feel like they realize sometimes on this region, it is those eliminations that make the difference and start that momentum building, get confidence through the roof. So for Moneymaker and for Nyan, it seems like they're pinpointing contested fights off the drop. And I'm not sure if they kind of plan for where they're actually hiding, but teams usually do go down the monster. They usually do farm up the metal here, the brick down below. You almost get maximum material down there. So the chances are high that teams are going to rotate in that direction. Obviously, the porta potty's there to get even more loot towards the backside of the map.
That's right, and Sharkman and Yuz are, of course, a team with some fair amount of points earned from yesterday. Their overall performance ending them in 23rd. So very much in the race right now for a consistency position. Meanwhile, Quick and Avari have the high ground here. They're looking down, also trying to see if they can find an opportunity. Everyone is oh so patient down here. So Moneymaker and F9 might have did their homework, but were they spotted potentially landing down? Hence everyone's cautiousness at the moment. How much time can you wait here, though, right? Even with max shield, you don't really have a lot of builds. So the clock is ticking here.
Uh-oh. Like I said, they're going for that brick, the porta potty, Moneymaker and F9. You're asking how long they can be patient for. Just a couple of seconds longer. They do have a team crossing their path, but they're just trying to go ahead and loot that boat. But you also have Quick and Avari still up above eyeing this altercation. So the initial plan for Moneymaker and F9 is let the fight break out. Listen to the noise, look at the feed, count the knocks, and then strike. And now they might be the ones trying to push what little advantage they might have.
so interesting as they get closer, and I'm curious if they realize there's a team above them. They have to know, because Sharkman and Yuz are building for good reason. Now Vari and Quick are obviously not going to over peak, so although F9 and Moneymaker are exposed here, they're not actually in danger just yet from the high ground team. In the end, it does seem like they ultimately decide to leave.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. They know two teams are here. When you see one disengaging out and you don't know where the other one is, a little bit too risky. As it does look like Paper and Zen are looking to go ahead and contest the Battle Woods against Ritual and Cold. This could be a blessing for Ritual and Cold. They get that first knock on the Zen, which is going to help them for Surge. I'm not sure how much, though. You can see 53 shield left on the Ritual. You got to imagine he took some sort of a shot. But while Paper and Zen contest Ritual and Cold, you can see Aviv and Veer at least trying to get a little bit of damage. It might be 20, it might be 30, but at least it's something to start the journey for Aviv and Veer.
Yeah, a couple tags there to put them ahead. Cold Ritual play a lot more defensively now as they tuck themselves inside the base, just in case that team comes down. Not to be, of course, pinched here. Goes the Shockwave to give him that extra stamina. Now it's time to go ahead and make the push here. Breaking that wall right there allows him to see straight through it, and the Elam